I'm Janice Hostegger. After 3 decades in the marketing business and many years of being an entrepreneur, I've learned a thing or two about marketing. Join me as we talk about marketing, small business, and life in between. Welcome to My Weekly Marketing.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of My Weekly Marketing. When I started using Facebook ads way back in 2012 for my then business, there was a Chrome plugin that would help you determine who you could target on Facebook. And it was called the Power Editor. And that was the only way you could choose an audience. Those were the golden days of Facebook ads when you could still get a lot of organic engagement to your business page, and ads were pennies a click. Boy, do I miss those days. Now, Facebook has about 52,000 data points on each user. This includes demographic data, behavioral data such as likes, shares, and comments, the device you use on Facebook, location data, data from websites that use Facebook's ad pixel, data obtained from third-party sources that Facebook is partnered with, and information provided by advertisers such as customer lists or contact information. So if you are now or have ever been on Facebook, Instagram, or any of Meta's sites, they know you well. If you're someone that's concerned about your data being used in the hands of corporate America, because it's all owned by Meta, it's probably not a good thing. But for those of us running ads, it's a gold mine. As an advertiser, you can only access about 100 points of data to define your audience. But even still, Facebook ads are still one of the most powerful forms of advertising for many reasons. So today we're diving deep into the world of Facebook ads with my friend, Stacy Covitz. Stacy is a Facebook and Instagram ad strategist. She helps experienced female entrepreneurs grow their audience and make more sales without wasting time and money on ads that don't work. She's also a wife and mother of 4. So if you've used Facebook ads in the past, or if you're new to them, one thing that we all know about Facebook ads platform is that it's always changing. So this episode will help equip you with practical insights and some expert tips to help you navigate the complexity of Facebook ads. And be sure to stay on to the end when Stacy's sharing a link to a quiz where you can find out if you're ready to run Facebook ads in your business. So here's my chat with Stacy. Hey, Stacy, welcome to My Weekly Marketing.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right. So before we jump into Facebook ads, I was creeping on your LinkedIn a little bit, and you have such a diverse background, including sales, nonprofit, teaching, and of course, entrepreneurship. So what do you think? So what has being an entrepreneur, how have you brought all of that together? And what is your background brought into your business? Because I think people's story is so interesting because they bring so much into their own business. So what is that for you?
Such a good question. Didn't see that one coming. It's interesting because my background starting from a teenager, before I was a teenager, 12 years old, my first job was at a skating rink, roller skating rink.
Fun.
And so customer service, helping people at the snack bar. And it just evolved to more customer service. And then I was a server and I've had so many jobs. And as an entrepreneur, as you know, you do everything, right? You have to know how to do everything. I mean, there's stuff that I didn't do before, like tech and all of that. But everything is sales, attracting clients and having calls with clients and customer service. That's one of my big mission statements is I want to give people really amazing service. And so, and I worked at companies like Delta Airlines and Marriott and, just big customer service focused companies.
Sure.
Sales, not usually my strong suit, but I have done a lot of jobs. What I did for the longest time was I stayed home with 4 children.
Mm-hmm.
So that that'll teach you everything, right? How to negotiate, how
Yeah.
to give choices. And yes, so I think that having so many jobs under my belt is definitely a benefit and has helped me tremendously in entrepreneurship.
Yeah. I love that you brought in parenting too and sales for different reasons. But you're absolutely right. As a parent, there is so much like years and years ago, there was a book called The 1 Minute Manager. And I just read through that and I thought, not recently, but at the time, years ago, when I read through it, I thought, this is so applicable to parenting. Catch them doing something right. And,
Oh,
just like so much overlap in management and parenting and even just strategy, getting through the day or
getting through the
traveling
day.
traveling with kids when they're little, I mean, it really does involve that and pivoting, and there are so many parallels between things that you learn as a parent and things that you learn as an entrepreneur for sure. But and sales too, I also, I think sales gets a bad rap sometimes because it really is about relationships. And I know you, and I know you're very relational and you love talking to people and getting to know them. And that really is sales too, right? Did you feel like that you were good at that because you have that background in sales, like, or in relationships and relationship building?
So, yes and no. Part of my relationship building is I'm so curious about people. So
Mhm.
curious about their stories and, everything. Stuff that people wouldn't even think of, I think of. And so it wasn't such a great asset in sales because I have left some when I was selling at one point insurance. I would do these 3-hour presentations and be told, "You are the most informative salesperson," and, that's not really what you should be doing in sales, but right? Like, "Oh, you're such a great teacher." I really enjoy sharing knowledge with people, and that's not necessarily the number 1 skill you should have for sales.
Mm. It wasn't your a good fit for you is what you're saying.
Ye that is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
That is what I'm saying.
Well, now, I love that you're all about Facebook ads because, and let me clarify here quickly. When we talk about Facebook ads, what I really mean is meta ads, and they're used on Facebook and Instagram, Messenger, and the Facebook Audience Network. I hope I'm not leaving anybody out there, but they're really, I think, a good place, a good starting point for new businesses just getting comfortable with paid ads. What do you feel about that? Do you think that's right? Yeah.
Absolutely agree with you. A
Okay.
lot of people think that if you're going to go into paid advertising, that you need this huge budget and you need this huge audience and you need all of these things that are for bigger businesses. But what I found and what I try and teach is that everybody needs brand awareness. And one of the best tools to get brand awareness quickly and for a very, very low budget are Facebook ads because you can run these, $2 a day type ads and just have them running in the background and get your face known and start being known as an expert in your industry. And you don't need a whole lot of experience to get those going. So yes, I absolutely agree that there's a Facebook ad strategy probably for almost every kind of business, in my opinion. I'm sure there's
Mm.
exceptions, but
No, I agree. I think especially, yeah, so
no,
well,
tell me what?
well, no, I was gonna say is that especially in that awareness stage, I think as you were talking about, or for businesses that, will be found on Facebook that you wouldn't necessarily go to Google to find. Like if you have a pain point or something like that that you are seeking a quick solution for, then you might go to Google to look for that. But that awareness aspect, you're absolutely right. You can run ads that are just to your content or to your site for lead magnet or something like that, that would still be good for that same audience. Did that make sense? Right?
Yes. Yes, that does make sense. That does make sense. And the good thing about it versus Google Ads is a lot of people have a guilty pleasure of just doing this, right? All the
Mm,
time.
yes.
And that's the beauty of Facebook and Instagram ads is they're not necessarily working, like working at their job. They're, in bed before, eating dinner, whatever they're doing while they're scrolling, and you can capture their attention. And it might not be something that they were thinking of.
Mhm. So, when you first so if you're first running an ad, and let's say you're not necessarily trying to sell at that point, what do you have it go to? Do you have it go to a lead magnet, or do you have it go to maybe an article or a podcast, or what is it that you would send somebody to?
Mhm. So when someone is brand new and they want just to get some recognition, I a lot of times I like to start with no call to action, not sending them anywhere.
Mm,
So because the deeper you get clicking and you're asking for a click or you're asking for some sort of conversion, the ads get more expensive.
mhm,
So if you're just starting out, you can do no call to action, no clicking necessary, just running, like video view ads. And you can the reason why I love those so much is you can really do a lot of testing that way before you start ramping up. So test your headlines, test your copy, your creative, and just start running those. I don't want to say baby ads because they're not baby ads. I encourage even my clients that have big ad budgets and are running conversion ads to always be running these in the background because you can build up an audience that way and attract more people, if that makes
so
sense.
yeah, totally.
It's essentially like organic. If you're posting on Facebook and then you come back and you say, okay, I just spent all this time on this beautiful graphic and I went all out and 3 people saw it. Nobody
Mhm.
commented. Nobody shared it. Nothing happened. And so it's like that, except you could get thousands of people to see it. And that's a difference. So you're not asking for them to actually take any action, but you're getting awareness.
So, if you're getting engagement on, let's say, an ad like that, does that benefit your account as a whole?
That's such a good question because that's another reason why I encourage people, even if they're not necessarily ready for ads and they don't have everything dialed in yet. When you first open a Meta Ads account, they have a lot of policies and procedures, and now they have bots in place,
Mhm,
and brand new accounts are getting flagged, and you have a small ad limit in the beginning, like sometimes $2 a day where they'll cap you. So, to answer your question, yes, because if you could start running those type of ads, you are seasoning your account. You are proving to Meta you're a real business, you're a real person, and the algorithm is starting to get to know you and who you're targeting and what your messaging is. And so by the time you are ready, it's really like how like just Chat GBT is so much smarter the more you use
mm,
it, right?
mhm,
So it's
mhm.
the Meta algorithm is just scary smart.
Yeah, yeah, and that's interesting because you're right, they have so many data points on every single human being that's ever walked into the that metasphere, for sure.
Right?
So does that help, let's say I'm running some, so what do you call these? What is your term for that? Like, not awareness necessarily, or maybe awareness ads, is that what you
Mhm.
call them?
Yeah, building brand awareness, billboard ads,
Okay,
it's like a billboard that you would see, something like that. So
gotcha.
you can have them running different ones, and then by the time you are ready to have some sort of a conversion ad, you've already been targeting the same audience with these ads, and so people all of a sudden when they're in the market for it, they say, "Oh, I know her. I know Janice. She's that marketing person. I see her all
Mhm.
the time. She's everywhere." And you've spent $2 a day. So
Mm,
it's pretty powerful.
right, right. I didn't realize that about new accounts that Meta limits their spend that puts all these kind of breaks on their ads.
Mhm.
That's really kind of interesting. So much has changed. I mean, every day something changes on their ad platform.
Please don't get me started on that. Oh my goodness. Every day.
Yeah, yeah. So what about their overall so if I'm gonna run an awareness ad or a billboard ad, will that benefit me when I go to post or make an organic post?
That's a good question. I have found, so in fact, a campaign I was just running for a client, we were doing conversion ads to get people to sign up for a webinar,
Mhm.
and they were crushing it. They were doing so great.
Mm,
And we've turned them off because it happened and it was successful. And now I look at her organic and it seems, and I don't know. The, the answer is I don't know. There
mhm.
could be an answer, and that's interesting. And I'm going to write it down because I want to find out. But it seems like her organic social is now being seen more.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, I'm curious because, when you engage with a post, any post, especially repeatedly, you're gonna see it more in your feed, right? So that's
Hmm.
gonna get you're gonna get g greater engagement overall. So I was curious whether or not after the ad was turned off, whether that would still be a thing. I think officially they would say, "Oh, I've heard it both ways." I mean, I've been with Facebook ads so many years that and they changed so many things in the process. But initially they said, the and that they don't really say, but initially the data said that yes, it did help. But then for a while it was not didn't seem to help. So I was curious whether or not you'd seen that in with clients or if you've really if it didn't make any difference and just kind of curious. And maybe it depends is the answer with Facebook and
Everything.
audience.
Everything is it depends, right? I feel like my business answer seems to be it wouldn't benefit them necessarily for that to be the case,
Mhm.
right? And if you wanna take Meta as a company and kind of their model, I would say probably not. They probably pay to play and once you turn it off, but I don't know, so that's not fair
Yeah.
for me to say.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it does sound sounds that way. So, what are the primary reasons that businesses should consider using Facebook ads as part of their strategy? Is it awareness? Is it engagement? Are there different reasons for using it across what I call the trail to the sale, from awareness all the way to when they buy and refer?
All of the above. And it just depends on what your goal is. So if you're brand new and you feel like your organic social media is going nowhere and you're shouting out to just the abyss and nobody's seeing anything, that's a great place to start. Let's start running some, billboard ads. Let's
Hmm.
start getting, get an ad account, start building up an audience, testing out some copy, messaging, all the way up to I have this product and it's selling really well right now organically, but I feel like I've capped out. I really I want to scale. So now you've got an offer that's already selling, you have your audience, you have your messaging, everything is dialed in. you could really, really make a lot more if you start putting ads towards that product. Now, the other side of that are people that are just launching a product for the first time and they've never tested it.
Mm-hmm.
That is a disaster waiting to happen. And that is where you hear ads don't work, right? Oh, I tried ads, it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's because you didn't have an offer that was already proven and selling and people loving it. So definitely you can scale if you have an offer. Brick and mortar businesses for traffic. You have a restaurant, you can use a coupon code or, get this free sandwich if you buy one or give us this code. So you could do that. There are people that are podcasters. You could do ads for traffic. You want to get more downloads for your podcast. There's so many ways that you could use ads to really boost your business as long as you do it with strategy in mind, right? You're not just
Right.
going
Right.
in there and pushing buttons and hoping.
Right. And I think that's what you hit on too, is that you need to think this through. You need to think through the whole sales journey, that the customer journey, what their goals are, first of all, starting with that, of course, and then who their audience is, and thinking through the whole big picture of it. So, about choosing your audience. Now, in the olden days, when I started doing ads, I would go in there and there used to be some great tools in there for really understanding who your ideal customer was and targeting them to a T. Now they have like something called Advantage Plus, right? And some other tools, and they probably have changed since I had last opened it 2 weeks ago. um, that really will they'll choose your audience for you. So I've heard some experts say, yeah, let them choose it. They know more than you do, which makes sense to me. And actually, I did that on the last ad that I ran. I let them choose my audience, and they did a really pretty good job, I must say. But I've also heard some people say, no, you want to go in there and choose the audience. Is it a one or the other, or is it a sometimes both, either and, neither nor?
All of the above. So for me, I'm still in the I want control because
Hmm.
I'm like you. I remember when we controlled exactly who we were showing it to.
Hmm.
Now, it's great to test, right? So have run 2 campaigns exactly the same, one ad set with let them choose and one with your targeting and see what happens. Depending on what your niche is, like I just had this client that she was so specialized, there's no way I was gonna let Facebook choose. There's no way
Mm-hmm.
because, I mean, her audience is probably 100,000 people in the country. So, that would make no sense. And it's interesting because I just did a podcast episode about targeting and audiences, and you're right, it used to be, oh, everyone had to like Amy Porterfield and yoga, and they have to be engaged shoppers and,
Hmm.
all the layers. And now I think that can actually go against you. I think that you really need to just have maybe one interest, one thing at a time, and then always
Okay.
test with them, letting them decide. I like to do a little of both. So, an age range, I do women, 30 to whatever, 60, and then the rest, in the country, because I wouldn't want to do every country and then see what happens. But they are so smart now. They are so smart.
So you would just do basic demographics and then let them choose the other audience? Like test one that's basic demographics, or do you test going pretty deep? Just
Hmm. So I'll do a broad. So
okay.
and broad means I would say women in this age range in
Gotcha.
the US. And then you do the rest. You find the
Okay.
rest of the people. And then I will have another audience that I want to control. Because I want to know. I want to, because otherwise, how do you know who is responding if you're
Right.
letting them choose? I like to I'll have a little bit of control, especially if I'm going to retarget, because I want to
Yeah.
know which, right? I want to know what type of people, which audience is working.
Yeah.
And if, yeah, so
Although I will say that, my ad did really well, and of course, there's so many factors that go into an ad that does well. The last time I ran one and let them choose the whole thing, I didn't test it, which I should have. Shame on me, but I was in a hurry. But, and it was for a lead magnet, and I got a lot of downloads, and the cost per click was really good. I can't recall exactly what it was, but it was nominal, and I was really happy with it.
yay.
But that may be that one particular segment of the audience. It may have been what I was selling. It may have been there's so many variables that go into an ad, so it's hard to know. But I was just curious, like, if you had one or the other that you lean towards, and it sounds like you don't. You're saying test both.
Yes, I don't ever just let them decide. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't have a client and just leave it all to Meta.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just and I shouldn't say never, because everything's changing, and one of my when I said don't get me started on all the changes, every day, sometimes twice a day, I'll go in there and I'll say, "Where did this setting go? Why is
Or
this
where
called this?" And now a big thing that is just is, I if I don't want them to choose my creative and, enhancements and all of this, if I don't want that, I have to go in and click off, click off, click off, click off. And if you
Mhm.
don't know how to do that or where to go, you're kind of just you're just at their mercy, which I don't like. But
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'll have to evolve, right? We're evolving.
I mean, I'm with you. It is very hard to stay up with all the changes that take place on there, and that's why there are people like you in the world that can help us business owners, because it is really hard. I mean, even having done this for years and years, I get a little nervous when I'm like, "Okay, I don't what is this? This is a new thing. I don't know what this is," and especially if I'm doing it for a client, which is why now I tend to outsource that because honestly, and that's true of a lot of areas of marketing. There's so many changes, there's so much depth to it that there's no possible way that we can stay on top of everything as a, for me as a strategist, because I'm a big picture person, but so, do you have any strategies that businesses can use to optimize their Facebook ad campaigns for better performance that you're willing to share a little bit, like other than what you just talked about with starting with billboard ads and kind of going beyond that a little bit? Are there some tips and tricks that you like to utilize, or are you not wanting to share those?
Ah! I can put that under the it depends, right?
Okay.
It depends a lot, I would say a lot on the offer and a lot on the budget, because a lot of people will come to you and they'll say, "Okay, well, I have kind of a big budget, $300." And, "Oh, yeah, okay."
Yeah, that's might not
Right.
go as far as they think. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't go very far. So it does just depend. It's interesting because, you and I were at Social Media Marketing World together, and there were some workshops that had some unique strategies that I'm excited to test. But, right now I would say messaging is pretty much trending, the not necessarily, it doesn't have to be a bot like a mini chat. It could just be message me this word,
Oh,
and those are performing pretty well. And it kind of goes all over the place. Like, it used to be video view, videos, video, 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 and now Carousels are performing really well
Mm.
because you can have 10 slides, and each slide could be a different message and a different, you could send them to a different place. So it's kind of a great, I would say, like a good bang for your buck carousel
Mm.
ads, and they perform really well. But yeah, it depends on so many things.
Mm-hmm.
I would say
Mm-hmm.
the messaging ads are working pretty well.
So you're talking about like integration with ManyChat or something like that, where you just say comment podcast below and we'll send you a link to it, kind of thing.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
and I will caution about a a a basic word like that, and make it more of a, if you're going to try this, make it more of a podcast number 27, something like that. Because if it's a word like podcast or ad or whatever, something that's generic, it could kind of send it off the rails because a lot of people will not be intending to get a message, and then the bot is triggering,
Oh.
because you know what I mean? Like,
So they may just have a comment using those words,
yes.
and then suddenly they're getting
Yes.
their inbox is full of something that they didn't
Yes,
want. Okay.
correct,
Got
correct.
good
So be
tip
a
for
little bit
sure.
more specific. And the nice thing is you don't even have to have ManyChat, because you could do this natively in Meta. You could
Really?
set up it's a shorter, it's not going to be a very robust sequence, but it could be, a couple steps
Okay. I
right
didn't
there.
even know that. Well, it's like I gotta get my head in there again and start figuring out what's going on. One of the challenges I think when working with clients is that they look at after the ad has run, they'll look at all the metrics and won't really know how to read them or what metrics they should pay attention to. So, do you feel like there's some KPIs or key performance metrics that you base like your success on or that people should look for when they're doing ads?
Yes, great question. And I just did a podcast about this,
Oh.
because a lot of people will be very disappointed because they think that their ads didn't work. But the reality is they weren't looking at the right metrics, because it's not a one size fits all. It depends on what your North Star goal is. If
Mm,
I'm going for sales, I don't care how many clicks I got if nobody converted, right?
mm,
Or if I'm
mhm,
doing a video view ad, a brand awareness billboard for a retargeting campaign, I don't care about clicks. I don't care about cost per click, because I'm not asking them to click.
mhm,
I just want them to watch this video. And it's interesting because if you're not skilled in Ads Manager and how it's set up, you could adjust all of the columns and the different reporting so it only shows what you're interested in, but it auto populates. And so if let's say you ran a video view campaign, and you go to your campaign, and then you're looking at performance, let's say, and it'll have cost per click, and it'll have all of these metrics that are completely irrelevant to what you should be looking for or hoping to get.
mhm,
And so you could look at that and not know and think, "Oh, this is terrible. I didn't get any clicks." Okay, but did you have a call to action for anybody to click? No. So, as long as you know how to set up your columns, so you're only testing or looking at the metrics that are relevant to what you're trying to do. So if you're selling something and you don't want to go above $30 a sale, and this is for high ticket, or I don't want to spend more than $30 per sale, then you wanna see your cost per result, right?
mhm,
That's a metric that's important to you. If you're getting clicks and your cost per result is low, and your everything is coming in and you're getting sales and conversions and it's just crushing it, you shouldn't really care what your CPM is, if that makes sense. Yes, we have this, I do in my head. I have a certain number I want to make sure that my CPM is under.
Mhm.
But like this last campaign that I was running, it was I couldn't have asked for a better campaign and a better results. But yeah, the CPM was a little bit higher. So it depends. That's the answer. It depends on what your goal is.
Sure. Yeah.
Those are the metrics that you should be looking for, and not worry really about anything else unless things aren't working. Unless you're feeling like you're just putting money in and it's just going down the drain, then have a look at the big picture, do a more in-depth audit. But there's some basic KPIs to check for. You're not getting any clicks. Okay, what's your creative? What
Mhm,
what
mhm.
does that look like? So, there's some basic formulas like that.
Yeah.
You're getting clicks, but nobody's converting. Okay, so what is your landing page like?
Right.
So I mean, the metrics definitely you want to they tell a story.
They do. Yeah. And I work with clients about that a lot because everything you can see where the audience starts falling off, and that's the point in which you need to start looking. And it's easy to say, "Oh my gosh, my ad didn't convert or it didn't not a lot of people clicked on it. Therefore, it it must be me or it must be my product or my ad." But really, right? Don't we kind of do
Right.
that sometimes? It's like, "Oh, what was I thinking? I shouldn't have done this or that." And we kind of beat ourselves up. But in
Mhm.
fact, like you said earlier, I think it was before we started recording, it's like it's all data, right? And it's the quote I used was, and I've used this before on my podcast, is like you either get the answer you wanted or the results you needed. And that is true in ads, that's true in anything in marketing. And that's what I love about data. And I'm not a numbers person at all. But the data really do help you when you're trying to figure out why things are not working. It tells you what to look at for sure. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, and I love it. I love looking at all of it. I'm not an expert by any means, but I would love to. I mean, I love learning, so I would love to just know everything about that. And now they have, I mean, I went to the convention.
Mhm.
One of the programs just, it's kind of creepy how detailed you could see what your customer journey and where they're falling off and, the hot heat maps and all of that. I'm sure you're aware of all of those.
It really is. There are so many tools out there that didn't exist for anybody before the computer age. I don't know how they sold anything, honestly. It's just like it's a
Right.
lot of guessing, but yeah, and it's just getting more and more targeted with AI coming in, and just about every single piece of software I use is integrating some AI at some point in the process. Everything from Photoshop to well, Meta, if we're doing ads, they're integrating AI. I mean, everybody's integrating AI right now, and why not? Because it's a time saver and it's makes our job so much easier, especially as business owners. Could talk all day on this, and I probably will at some point.
Oh, I know, and it's a mixed bag. It's amazing, amazing.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
talk to me a little about retargeting. What role does that play in maintaining engagement and conversions on Facebook? Like, when do you use retargeting ads, and when do you not?
So if I am trying to build up an audience, let's say I don't have any audience and I want to build up an audience. I will, let's say, let Meta decide who they send these to. And I would do, engagement, video views, and then I would go and I would look at my metrics and I would filter out the people or the segment of how many video views I got, and then you could say 50%, 50% view. So if your video, let's say, is a minute and
Mhm.
someone is watching 30 seconds, well, in today's world, whew, wow, they love
That's
you.
pretty good.
They
Yes, I
love
was gonna
you,
say.
right?
Yes.
So I would make a custom audience out of those people. And if I have a really niche audience that I'm going after, target, and they watch 100%, I feel like that's a slam dunk.
Mhm.
If you were talking about something that is so off the wall to most people and someone's watching that for 2 minutes, either they have too much time on their hands or they're your ideal client. So I would take those audiences and create a custom audience, which is a beautiful thing that you could do in
Mhm.
Meta, and then I would use that audience for my middle of funnel. I would call that a warm lead. So
Mhm.
that would be my middle bottom of funnel where I would be now going for the ask, going for the sale or, get an appointment or something like that. So that's how I use it to build up an audience.
Or you could take that group of leads and run conversion ads to them in Meta as well.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Yes. So I
Okay.
would take that custom audience. So I would create audience from, this many minutes watched and
Yeah.
then I would show those people my conversion ads.
Mm. Love that.
And they're warm leads. They already
Yeah.
know me. They already like me. They watched a minute of some random, if you're completely on some random topic and someone's watching it, and they love it and they're watching it, then yay.
Part of me wants to go into like, okay, explain how you do that so people can understand. But then I realize that gets kind of complex, especially when we're on a podcast because you can't show video here. But
Yes, yes. I mean, that is the beautiful thing about meta advertising is there's 3 types of audiences. So there's your broad, you just let Meta decide. There's your custom audience, which is what I was just referring to, which
Mhm.
is essentially everybody on the platform or on your website that has engaged with you somehow. Either they've
Mhm.
commented, they've gone to your website if it's pixeled. That's a
Mhm.
different topic. So you can create audiences, specific audiences that refer to people that visited my website all the way up to 6 months ago. People that engaged with me on Instagram. That could be one audience. So then you can go and say, well, this product does really well on Instagram. And so I'm going to target all these people that have engaged with me on Instagram. And that's who I'm going to send my ad to. And, talk about targeting, right? Those
Right.
those are your people.
They are. Yeah.
So, yes, so you can do just a regular audience and then or you can have a custom audience and then they have other audiences that you can create which are called lookalike audiences, which you could take 1%, 3% of, let's say, your email list. You could upload your email list into Meta and target them, or you can exclude them. Well, they're getting rid of that. I shouldn't say that, but
Oh, are they? Good to know. Okay.
right? I know. It's like, no. Yeah. So exclusion right now is still possible. So you want to exclude all your buyers, let's say, if you want to go broad.
Yeah.
So you can do a lookalike audience, which is find me people that are like these people. So they have the same, interests and age demographic and all of that. Find those people for me. And those do really well.
Mm. Mhm.
Surprisingly so. Lookalike audiences sometimes are just a, a secret gem.
They are, and there are so many things that you can do with that information, and I think people when with clients that I meet, they'll say, "I just wanna run an ad," but there's there's so many layers of people in there, and you talked about the lookalike audiences, and I think, as I understood it, 1% means that they are gonna be most closely aligned with you, right? And 2% gets a little further out, right?
Thank you.
Okay, I was just trying to make
That's exactly what it is, and I couldn't explain it.
well, because at some point, that 1%, you're gonna kind of exhaust that group of people, so you wanna go a little broader out as you go along, correct? If you're hitting that same audience, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and if I'm doing a lookalike audience, I will do several. I'll test 1% and then I'll test 3%,
Oh, okay.
and then if I'm not getting results, I might go up to 5%, but
Okay.
depending on how much I'm putting towards it, I might not go higher than that.
Gotcha. Wow. Well, Stacy, you have been so helpful in helping me get caught up on what's happening with Facebook ads and helping my listeners understand really the basics of running a Facebook ad. And you have a freebie for us, right?
I
Tell us more about
do.
that.
I'm super excited about this. So, speaking of AI, I just created a custom GBT. So, it's like using Chat GBT, and you do need to have the paid version. And if you don't have the paid version and you want to still do this, I have a PDF as well. So, you go in and it's a quiz, and it will help you if you're ready for Facebook ads. So it's a question it's going to ask you questions and you answer, and you can have a chat with it, conversation, whatever you want. And it's going to help you decide if you're ready for Facebook ads, and if you're not, it's a checklist to see what you need to get going, to get up to speed, to not waste your money, because that is my mission, is to make sure that everybody that puts money in gets some sort of value when they are doing their ads.
That is such a great idea. I love that because you're really going to, I mean, I get that question quite a bit. It's like, should I be running Facebook ads? And this will just answer that question. I absolutely love it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'll put the link to that in the show notes. And Stacey, people can find you on LinkedIn, Instagram, all the all of the above
Yes,
under Stacey Covitz.
all of the
Okay.
above, and I'm like the cobbler with no shoes, so I'm not that active on Instagram and Facebook, but I am
I
there.
I think we've had this conversation because yeah, it's like when you're taking care of all the other people's accounts, it's really hard to focus on your own, and I think anybody in business kind of understands that. So,
Right, right.
well, thank you so much for being with us today, and I appreciate it. And I will share all the links to everything that you offered.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's a wrap. For more information about anything we talked about today, visit myweeklymarketing.com/108. That's 108. Remember that in the ever evolving world of marketing and small business, there's always something new to learn. So be sure to subscribe so you'll always stay up to date. Thanks so much for joining me today. See you next time. Bye for now.